What is going on, Gridiron fans? I am the Gridiron Guy, and this is my mock draft madness. Now, if you haven't been here before, please consider clicking the subscribe button. It really helps me out a lot to get this channel rolling. Can you also leave a thumbs up if you enjoy this video? Also, I am working on trying to upload some Madden content. I'm putting together some videos right now, so look for that in the future. This mock draft is going to be interesting because finally, for the first time in all season, we have the Jets out of the number 1 spot. So things are going to get interesting. We are going to trade a little here. We're going to find out what's up, and let's see what happens. All right. Just because the team has changed for the number 1 pick does not mean that the number 1 pick changes. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence to the Jags. I mean, this is way more likely than the Jets taking him. I mean, if this happens, Trevor Lawrence is declaring for the draft. If he declares, and he said he already is gonna, and the Jets are not that number 1 spot, I think it's a slam dunk, 99.9% chance Trevor Lawrence is number 1 all day, every day. No doubt about it. I think if the Jets hold that number 1 spot, there is at least a twinge of doubt. They might stick with Sam Darnold. They just drafted him 2 years ago. Are they ready to give up on him? We'll find out. But I think as long as it's the Jags, it's Trevor Lawrence. Easily. Okay, this is going to surprise some people. Maybe not surprise some people. I'll catch flack for this, or I won't catch flack for this. Both ways. But I am not taking Justin Fields, number 2 overall, for the Jets. In fact, the more I watch this kid... Okay, first of all, the more I watch Justin Fields, the more I am convinced he is not the second best quarterback in this draft. He has struggled a little bit this season. Northwestern game, the Indiana game, he's starting to prove that he's not as polished as he appears to be. And I've been saying this all year that Justin Fields looks great because he has good wide receivers and a great offensive line. But you've seen with some pressure, with some drop passes, whatever, he's not the most polished quarterback we all thought he was. But this guy, Zach Wilson, to the Jets. Zach Wilson, every time I watch him, he reminds me of Pat Mahomes. Okay? Gonna catch some flack for that, but just watch him. Flips the ball at different angles. He gets rid of the ball quickly. He scrambles around and tries to make things happen. He has a tremendous arm. Yeah, he's not super fast, but he is smart. He is an improviser. He makes good decisions. He reminds me of Pat Mahomes. He extends plays. When he gets in trouble, a lot of the times he's okay. They take his first, second read, boom, hits him. He just makes some throws that just say, wow. It just kind of reminds you of Pat Mahomes. So I'm sticking with it. I think Zach Wilson, when it's all said and done, second guy off the board. I think Zach Wilson makes the Jets take a quarterback more than Justin Fields. Just saying. Okay. With that all being said, I think it's clear and cut. Unless the Jets go Penei Sewell, the Jags will go, or the Bengals will go Penei Sewell easily. The Jets could say, yeah, we're going to take Penei Sewell. We'll have two good bookend tackles. Let's get Darnold a wide receiver later on in this first round. Maybe even trade back, pick up a couple of players. Whatever they want to do, they could do it. The Jets have put themselves in that position. Maybe they want to trade Darnold, and maybe they can get a second or a third round pick and pick up another wide receiver, running back, maybe a guard later on, and just really build this offensive line for Zach Wilson. So it goes either way. Penei Sewell to the Bengals. Joe Burrow needs some protection. That was evident. Now they have Jonah Williams, Penei Sewell. Let's protect him. Maybe the Bengals could even pick up a guard in the second round as well. And just that they got a good wide receiving core. That defense is okay. They drafted some rookies on that defense this year. I think defense for depth and offensive line is everything the Bengals need. All right. Now, although I don't think Justin Fields is the number 2 overall quarterback, I still think he's a top 5, top 10 quarterback. So, I think the Panthers take him at number 4. This is the highest the Panthers have been. They're normally around 7 or 8. I think the highest they've been is 6, maybe 5, whatever, but things were different back then. They didn't have a shot at a guy like Justin Fields. Justin Fields falls to number 4. I think the Panthers take him absolutely. And I think with Zach Wilson on the board after Trevor Lawrence, I think the Jets are going to want Zach Wilson. And that kind of forces Justin Fields down the board a little bit. And the Panthers are sitting there saying, hey, Justin Fields, yeah, we'll take him. Absolutely. Absolutely, it's got to be a quarterback. Okay. Falcons on the board. They could be looking quarterback too. That's the highest they've drafted so far. But, they're not always going to have a shot at a good edge rusher like Gregory Rousseau. First defensive player off the board. He's not the best defensive player on the board, but he is the best edge rusher on the board. They got to go with him. And they already have some pretty good linebackers. They need some edge help. All right. Now, Miami on the board. You would think that Jamar Chase is the slam dunk pick right here. But now with Micah Parsons here. Micah Parsons, I don't know if... I'm starting to think that Micah Parsons is a lot better fit for that defense than Jamar Chase could be for that offense. So I'm going Micah Parsons right here. He is versatile. He can blitz the quarterback. He can cover. He's a tackling machine. I think he improves this already pretty good defense, takes him to another level. He's very versatile. He can do a lot of things for that defense. Okay. Now, the Eagles get interesting. They could go a lot of options. If they wanted Devonta Smith, he's here. Jalen Waddle's here. Kyle Pitts is not a bad option for them. Although, it's with some of these other players on the board, Kyle Pitts is just not an option for some of the help that they need. They need offensive help, period. So, if Kyle Pitts was there, if he was the only option, they would take him, but he's not. So, Patrick Surtain's an option, especially if they want to keep Patrick Surtain from going to the Cowboys on the next pick. It just might be a thought process. Would you want Patrick Surtain on your team? Or do you want to let him go to the Cowboys and watch him shut you down for the next 10 years? I think Patrick Surtain is going to be dynamic. But, it's an offensive league. It is a period. If you can get offense first. I'm starting to realize that defensive players are almost irrelevant anymore. If you could take a premier wide receiver over a premier corner 10 years ago, you think I was crazy that, you should be taking Patrick Surtain. But anymore, it's a quarterback-driven league. It's an offensive-driven league. Take more offense, especially for the Eagles. They need offensive help big time. Big time. All right. Cowboys. Cowboys are definitely, there's some options here. They could go Kwity Paye, Patrick Surtain, Caleb Farley. They could take Kyle Pitts, although it'd be pretty stupid. They definitely don't need Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle. They have plenty of wide receivers. Quarterback, yeah, maybe. Maybe they say, hey, we don't really have a lot of money to go around. Maybe we should take a quarterback. J.C. Horn. They have Zeke, so they're not. So Jalen Mayfield, they could take Christian Dursaw. They could take an offensive tackle. It's definitely an option, but that defense has been horrendous. I know what I just said on the last one, but your defense cannot be 32nd in the league if you want to make the playoffs. So you need to draft somebody to play on defense. You can't just totally ignore it all the time. So Cowboys need to go out and get Patrick Surtain, especially with the back half of that defense. Their contracts are up in the air. Cowboys aren't going to have a lot of money anyway, so they're going to have to build through this draft. Honestly, if the Patrick Surtain pick was not so enticing, the Cowboys should. If Patrick Surtain is off the board when they pick at number 8, they should just trade down. They should trade down with somebody looking to move up to get a quarterback or somebody, whatever. They should trade down because they need a lot of picks because they're going to be in some serious money trouble in the next 2 or 3 years. Like, big time. You're going to see them not be able to re-sign players. They're just going to fall apart. So, frankly, they should just trade down. But they're not. Not right now. All right. There are some other teams that should trade down. Other teams that should trade up. Okay. So we have an interesting spot here. The Chargers. This is not a terrible spot for the Chargers to pick. Okay? It's really not. Offensive tackle, offensive line in general, corner, edge, linebacker. Caleb Farley's on the board. It's not a bad pick. Christian Dursaw's on the board. Jalen Mayfield's on the board. Yeah, I really think they should trade down. Question is, with whom should they trade down with? Okay, so I did a trade with the Bears. Okay? Now the Bears get the 9th overall pick. The Chargers move down to 16. And they pick up a 3rd and a 6th round pick in this year's draft. Now you're only dropping down 7 spots. Feel like it's a much better spot for an offensive tackle, offensive line in general, period. And the Chargers pick up 2 other picks that they can use for depth on their defense, or even depth on in their wide receiving core. But so why did the Bears move up to 9 then? The Bears move up because they want to stay ahead of the Lions in case the Lions are thinking about going quarterback. They want to stay ahead of the Vikings because we're pretty positive they're thinking quarterback. Also, they want to stay ahead of teams like San Francisco, who might be thinking quarterback, and the Broncos, who in recent history have, I think Drew Lock is just fine, but people have been saying that maybe the Broncos are looking for a quarterback. Okay? Patriots are looking for a quarterback. So Here's the Bears sitting here behind all these other teams, other than the Giants, who I don't think is looking quarterback at all. They're sitting behind all these teams who might be thinking quarterback, at least an option of picking up one. So they jump ahead of all of these teams. The Chargers fall down so they can still pick up an offensive lineman. They'll be happy with Christian Dursaw or Jalen Mayfield, Wyatt Davis, one of these offensive linemen, Samuel Cosme. But right now, the Bears trade up, and they're going to take Trey Lance off the board. Trey Lance is mobile. He makes smart decisions, unlike Mitchell Trubisky. He makes good decisions. He's mobile. So is Kyle. So why do I keep trying to say Kyle Trubisky? I'm looking at Kyle Pitts up here. Okay, so just like Mitchell Trubisky, he is mobile, but he makes smart decisions with the football. He makes good reads. He will use his legs before he throws an interception. So I think Trey Lance is a much better quarterback, even right now, than Mitchell Trubisky. Now, Nick Foles is up and down. He'll have a great season, then he'll go out and have a terrible season. Or whatever. We know Nick Foles' career looks like. Alright. Now, with the Giants on the board, there is so much here for them to go after. Just starting out of the farthest thing that they would possibly do is Wyatt Davis, an offensive lineman. They could still use some offensive line help. Eric Stokes or Caleb Farley wouldn't be bad options. They could use some defensive help. Linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah wouldn't be a bad option as well. He's pretty versatile. Tackling machine. Good in coverage. He could really help that defense out. Kwity Paye, edge rusher. But Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle. Great picks. So there is a lot of options here for the Giants. They should not move out of this pick. But what I think they're going to do is take Devonta Smith. It's a toss-up. It's tough between Kwity Paye or Devonta Smith. That offense needs to play better. That defense is playing pretty well. I think they can get maybe a player or two in free agency, maybe even pick up some players in this draft. But if they have a player like Devonta Smith staring them in the face, they have to take him. Especially since the Lions would have taken him for sure. So, with that being said, Trey Lance off the Jamar Chase off the board, Devonta Smith off the board. I think it's obvious. Well, it's not super obvious. I think Trey Lance is probably the last of the second tier of quarterbacks, because there is Trevor Lawrence, then there is Lance, Wilson, and Fields, not in that particular order, and then you have Trask and Mac Wilson in a third tier. But I think these tiers are all really close together. I think all the quarterbacks are going to be first round picks when it's all said and done. But I think it's going to be more spread out like this. So, let's get moving here. I think the pick is Jalen Waddle. Both Alabama wide receivers off the board. All right. Now, San Francisco, I do think they're going to take a quarterback. I do think they need to move on at quarterback, but I don't think Kyle Trask is their best option. Neither is Mac Jones. I think their best option was Trey Lance or Justin Fields or Zach Wilson. I don't think Kyle Trask and Mac Jones give them what they want with their zone running scheme. These two quarterbacks are not as mobile, so they're more of pocket passers. Trask has some mobility, but he's pretty slow. But he does have some mobility. So with that being said, I think they go Caleb Farley. It's either Caleb Farley or it's Wyatt Davis. Okay. With Von Miller getting older and Kwity Paye sitting here at number 13, I think they go Kwity Paye. They got Bradley Chubb a couple years ago. Now they have Kwity Paye. It kind of a passing of the torch from Von Miller. Von Miller's almost in his mid-30s. Could use him on just straight third downs. He can find himself as the odd man out. Maybe even trade him. I don't know. Whatever they want to do. If they can get Kwity Paye, Von Miller can move on. Okay. So now, what the Vikings really need, obviously other than offensive line, I think they're going to take a quarterback, and I don't think they're afraid to take Kyle Trask, because dude's got a big arm. Big arm. And that's what the Vikings want to do, is throw the ball down the field. He has just got a big arm. So, I think they take Kyle Trask. Now with the Patriots sitting here, Mac Jones would be a great pick. But I just don't know if they could pass up either a wide receiver or a tight end. I think they make a trade for one of these other quarterbacks who are finding themselves odd man out somewhere. And they try to develop him and keep going with Cam Newton, and they take Kyle Pitts. I mean, it would have been him or Rashad Bateman. Would have been one of them. Even Travis Etienne wouldn't have been a bad option for the Patriots. But I think they go Kyle Pitts. Belichick loves his tight ends. Okay, so here is the Chargers. Now Christian Dursaw, Jalen Mayfield, Wyatt Davis, Samuel Cosmi, whatever they want to do, they're here. Okay, and I think they're going to go Christian Dursaw. All right, the Raiders. The Raiders on the board. I think the Raiders need defense, period. Okay? Just defense. And when you think they should take an offensive player, more defense. Okay? They just need better players on the defensive side of the ball. They also need a better scheme. Players need to be more prepared. But I think they have some pieces on defense. They just need a better scheme, and they need a couple more pieces. But I think if they went Joseph Ossai, it's either Joseph Ossai, Jared Wosu-Karamoa, or Wyatt Davis. Those are the three best picks for them. Wyatt Davis, I really like Wyatt Davis, but like I just said, they have to go defense. Joseph Ossai. Okay. Now, some of the same issues. The Ravens really just need... Okay, earlier in the middle of the season, the Ravens weren't playing so well. They started off hot. They weren't playing so well. And everybody's like, what the heck? Well, their offensive line was struggling a little bit. There was a lot of injuries. Obviously, there's a lot of injuries. So, but what I really think they need is a big-time wide receiver. Now, yes, they do have Hollywood Brown, but they need somebody else. They need to go get a guy like Rashad Bateman, who can, big-time wide receiver, go up high, point the ball. He's not Hollywood Brown in the sense of all the speed and all that, the shiftiness. He is more of a a playmaking wide receiver. He'll go up and high point the ball. He's more of a possession guy. He's gonna grab more passes. That's what they need. They need somebody. That's why they went and got. That's why they went out and they got Dez Bryant. He's more of a possession guy. He can high point the ball. He's gonna eat up catches, and that's what they need. When their offensive line and their running game starts to get slowed down or struggles a little bit, they need to be able to throw the ball, and they need to be able to throw it more effectively. So they need to go wide receiver. Okay. Now, I really want to say quarterback here to Washington football team, but Mac Jones, Mac Jones would be good for these guys, but Mac Jones, I don't feel like is any better. I feel like he is no better than Alex Smith. Alex Smith is the answer for them right now. He's got them in the playoff picture. Alex Smith is a beast. And he's doing it with the lack of weapons that, really just got Terry McLaurin. Really, these guys need a wide receiver. You know what? Yeah, I'll think they go wide receiver. And they grab Terrence Marshall. Alex Smith is the guy. Maybe they draft a second round quarterback. Dwayne Haskins is definitely not the answer. Maybe they hold on to Kyle Allen and develop him. Or they go out and they grab one of these other guys who are going to find themselves odd man out. But I really think just getting that defense is really good. I think just getting another weapon or two at the wide receiver position is their ultimate answer right now. Maybe even if they could even get a big time tight end. Kyle Pitts were here, maybe. But Terrence Marshall, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrence Marshall, these guys were tearing up college football last year. And I think they're going to all move on to the NFL and do the same thing. Okay. All right, I think Patrick P's getting a little older. I think Patrick P can move to free safety. And the Cardinals go with a cornerback and draft J.C. Horn. Okay. Now, this is somewhat of a deep wide receiving draft. But I think where the Dolphins are sitting, it's either edge or offensive line. And Wyatt Davis is my favorite guard for this draft. He is a dog. Downhill, smash mouth type offensive guard. He just hits dudes in the mouth. That's what I like about him. He's just a dog. He's just a trench dog. Okay. Now we have some options here for the Bucks, but I think ultimately this is not a good spot for them. It's really not. I think the Bucks are going to trade down. Possibly. Yeah. It's looking like they're going to trade down. But who are they going to trade with? You know what? No. I think they're going to take Jay Tufele, defensive tackle. Right now, he is the best defensive tackle in the draft. I know for a fact. It happens every year. There will be a defensive tackle. There will be a guy who goes to the combine. He will test out as a freak. He'll throw it up 42 times. He'll run like a 4.8 40. He's just gonna his cone drill will be outrageous. is his long jump. He's just gonna test out amazingly. He's gonna be a good size. There might be even two guys this year, and they're gonna jump themselves into that first round. But right now, defensive tackle and safety are the weakest spots for the first round. Not to mention, not a whole lot of safeties go in the first round anymore. Okay. Now, with all this said, yeah, the the Colts could go offensive tackle, but I think this is a good spot for them. They say, hey, listen, we have a really good defense. I guess they're gonna ride or die with Phillip Rivers, probably for one more year. They might re-sign him for a one more year deal. But they can always grab an offensive tackle in the second round. This is a deep tackle draft, offensive tackle. So there is only one chance to get a guy like Mac Jones. Mac Jones, you can develop him for the next year. Let him sit behind Phillip Rivers. Let him learn from a Hall of Famer. Not that Phillip Rivers is the greatest quarterback to listen to. He does make some bad decisions. But I think overall, it would be good for Mac Jones to go to the Colts. And, the way this defense is set up, the way this wide receiving core and offensive line, and even the running back situation is all set up, I think you plug in Mac Jones, and the Colts are good for years to come. All right. Now, looking at the Browns, I think it's going to be Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He is versatile. He's a little undersized, but he's a tackling machine. He is everywhere, sideline to sideline. He's all over the place. He's good in coverage. It's just something that the Browns could need going forward. They need a little more juice on that defense. That offense is going to be just fine. I think Baker Mayfield is the quarterback of the future. I don't think they need to worry about quarterback. They have an amazing running game. Wide receiver, yeah, they could go wide receiver, but I think defense is their option. I think that's just the way they go. All right. Jalen Mayfield off the board. You got Trevor Lawrence. Now get him an offensive tackle. Protect his blind side. Jalen Mayfield is a right tackle. Move him to left. Protect his blind side. All right. The Jets on the board. I think the Jets go. I've done this a couple times. They really need help on the back end. They could go an offensive tackle and protect. But I think you get a quarterback. That offensive line is decent. Like I said, this is a deep tackle draft, deep offensive line draft. I think their defense isn't terrible. But if you can get him a good running back, Travis Etienne to the Jets, to go with Zach Wilson, I think you now have a dynamic offense, at least somewhat. Get him a wide receiver, get him a guy like Pat Freiermuth, but there's not a ton of wide receivers right now. Not at the end of this first round. So, go Travis Etienne, one of the best offensive players on the board. All right, moving on to the Titans. Titans on the board. I think the Titans need to go. I think the Texans go Aiden Hutchinson. All right, Steelers. I'm guessing Big Ben's going to be back for one more year. Mac Jones is off the board now. I don't think there's a ton here for them. Najee Harris would be a pretty good option for them. But their offensive line is getting old. So Samuel Cosmi is the pick. Okay. Now, although quarterback, I'm probably gonna say it for these next couple picks. At least for this pick, quarterback would be the option if Mac Jones was still here, but he's not. So I think they could go Eric Stokes, or they could go Dylan Moses. That's about it. They could pick up. Now, it's got to be Eric Stokes. They need help on that back end a little bit. I think it's just going to be Eric Stokes. Okay, now for the Bills. The Bills could definitely take Dylan Moses. They need a guy that could just plug up the middle, make tackles, just be a force to be reckoned with. That's what the Bills like to do. They just like to punch you in the mouth. Okay. Packers. All right, this is what they should have done. I know I say this all the time. Amon-Ra St. Brown to the Packers. Get the man a first-round quarterback, for crying out loud. And then the last pick, Creed Humphrey to the Chiefs. Okay, everybody, so what did you think? Did you enjoy my mock draft? If so, give me a thumbs up. There's Creed Humphrey at the end there. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. I know we did some trades. Wait, a trade. I like doing the trades. Probably going to stick with the first rounds for now. My second round draft was like, So I'm going to stick with the first round trades from now on. Look for the Madden content. Some Madden content coming out probably in the next week or two. Probably 2. But look for that. So I am the Gridiron Guy, and I am out.